Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Source Radio Network. I'm your host today. My name is Mel Alvin, and let me start off by telling you a little bit about Source Radio Network. Source Radio Network has two components, two functions. One function is we play what we call jazz confusion, and that is jazz crossover to match any community. We are dedicated to Black and minority small businesses. That is our second mission. And that's to bring you the best information we can on how to grow Black and minority small businesses, many of which are invisible. So without further ado, let me get started and pull up I'm sorry, and pull up a PowerPoint slide to start everything off. Okay, so let's start with making the invisible visible. What does this have to do with small businesses? Well, this is what we're going to explore today. Many small businesses are not visible, and most of them are Black and minority businesses. They're home-based businesses, and they actually need to be made visible. As you can see, it's the absence of visibility, okay, of these home-based businesses and businesses on social media. And they're not visible to federal, state, and local government, not visible to Amazon.com, not visible to the Minority Business Development Agency, which is responsible for small businesses on the federal level. And it's also not recognized by the Small Business Administration. And what's the reason? Well, first of all, over almost 71% of all small businesses are white owned. They're not Black or minority owned. And when they are Black and minority owned, particularly Black owned, 97% of Black owned small businesses, okay, are sole proprietorships. That means they have no employees. What is needed is for these small businesses to be recognized, to have different services made available to them so that they can grow these businesses. And we're going to take a look at them a little more closely to try to figure out what are these businesses, what industries are they in, and why haven't they been received assistance like other businesses do that are white and are small businesses? What is the difference, and what is the institutional racism that for so many years has inhibited these businesses from being successful? So let me go to the next slide and we can start to examine this a little bit further. Black people comprise 14.2% of the U.S. population based on the last census data. But Black businesses comprise only 2.2% of the 5.7, nearly 6 million employer businesses. Now, an employer business is a business that has employees. It's not a sole proprietorship. Once you can afford employees, we have to take a look at your annual sales revenue. And this is where the two seem to come together. Scale is really important. Unfortunately, to be recognized by the Small Business Administration, by federal, county, and state government, by banks, and other institutions of the sales platforms, you need to have $250,000 in annual sales. Now that's a big number. And it's not a written law, it's an unwritten hurdle that small businesses need to be able to move beyond. And that's the big problem. Most of the 97% that are sole proprietorships, home-based and social media-based businesses typically have less than 50,000 in annual sales. So, they're often described as side hustles, but that's partly because their owners don't have a clear path to make these businesses their sole means of financial support. So it becomes a secondary source of income. And they could become vibrant businesses and employer-based businesses. And once they're employer-based, now you're starting to affect the local economy because you're really starting to employ workers who then go out and purchase different products and services and also pay taxes in the county. So let's take a closer look at some of these small businesses. According to a recent SBO report, 3.2% of Black-owned businesses operate with employees. So we know it's somewhere between 2.2 and 3.2%. And that's compared to 30.8% of white-owned businesses that have more than one employee. So there's a clear disadvantage, and we're going to take a look at where these disadvantages arise from and how we can overcome them and start to make the invisible economy visible. Okay, what's the cost of the invisible economy? Because these businesses aren't visible. And by visible, I mean they have a website, they're on a sales platform, they're recognized by municipal government and by banks. So they have the opportunity to have financial support and programmatic support from government who can run programs, for example, to help them get a retail space if necessary, to help them if they're a women-based business, which many of these invisible economy businesses are owned by women. There are programs that are specifically for women entrepreneurs to help them get ahead. But in order to get these benefits, they have to be recognized, and that's been the problem. So the underrepresentation of Black businesses is costing the local economy and the national economy millions of jobs and billions of dollars in revenue. This is a serious impact on the national economy. So it's not just a Black problem, it's a national problem, and it's a problem that we need to take a look at, and there are ways to fix this problem, and we're going to explore some of those today too. How large is the invisible economy? Well, a Brookings Institute study in 2022 that's very recent puts the invisible economy at 11 to 12% of the gross domestic product, GDP, or roughly $2.25 trillion to $2.5 trillion. These are businesses that people have a hard time finding, shoppers have a hard time finding them. They don't have scale, so they're not recognized by a lot of the institutions and quasi-government agencies. And this is a big problem. So an earlier estimate, this is in 2019, of its pre-pandemic size was 5.4% of GDP. So what happened between the pandemic and 2022? What happened between 2020 and 2022? Well, as you can see, the number of businesses in the invisible economy doubled, and a great preponderance are Black-owned businesses. So, this is an important statistic because the invisible economy started to grow during the pandemic. Why? Let's take a look a little further. The impact in jobs in hospitality and healthcare and hospice care, child care, senior care, these are industries that are predominantly employed with Black people and minorities. And when everything was locked down because of the pandemic and because of the major threat to health of healthcare workers, many decided to stay home because they had children or senior care members to take care of. They didn't want to bring home, obviously, a COVID virus to infect other household members. So many in healthcare, hospice care, child care, many in the hospitality industry, restaurants shut down. So suddenly you had a large preponderance of Black and minority workers who were home. And of course, there were federal programs to try to help support some of the small businesses. But on the initial phase of the Paycheck Protection Plan, for example, it never trickled down to small businesses because it was administered by the Small Business Administration. They went to banks, who are their customers, and the banks went to small businesses, but obviously cherry-picked. And they went first to their customers that are small Black businesses that have over 250,000 sales. So the money for the Paycheck Protection Program, for example, never trickled down to the invisible economy, never showed up. The second round was a little bit more successful, but not to a large extent because these businesses remain, invisible. Let me give you an example from Prince George's County in Maryland that I'm very familiar with. By my estimate, there are 5,000 small Black businesses that are sole proprietorships that don't have a website and also are on social media and have a home-based business. 5,000. If these businesses became employer businesses, employing, having employees, and they had the revenue to pay employees, the scale they need, the economy in Prince George's would jump incredibly high. So these businesses are such a vital part, an organic part of the community, but they're not being serviced because no one knows they even exist. The invisible economy is to a large extent the product of a racial imbalance in the US. And this is a really interesting statistic that surprised me. In the early 1960s, white people held 7 times more family wealth than Black people. Now think about that. 7 times more wealth. It's astounding. Most small businesses are funded by family wealth when they first begin. They're bootstrapped. They typically go to members of the family and they typically get financed to start their own business. But if Black businesses are 1/7 the size in terms of wealth as white businesses, those resources are scarce, if non-existent. In 2021, it was reported that white people now hold 6.9 times more family wealth than Black people. What's the difference between 6.9 and 7? 0.1%. So what does it tell you? Over the past 70 years, I'm sorry, let me take that back, 50 years, nothing has changed, making the invisible economy visible and supporting and making it part of the increasing stream of generational wealth is critical. So how do you create generational wealth? How do you make Black families' wealth more on a level playing field with white family wealth? That needs to come from making small Black invisible businesses visible. You create family wealth through family businesses. It's one of the key ways to do this. So we're going to take a closer look at this again and go a little bit deeper to try to understand the nature of these invisible businesses, which are in every community throughout the country and form a core of important businesses that need assistance, because it will make the whole economy more vibrant. It will start to hire more employees, start to grow wealth in neighborhoods and communities, and this is the heart of America. It was at the founding of our country when Thomas Jefferson thought that America was really a country of small shopkeepers. Small businesses was the name of the game. There weren't large corporations. And to some extent, it hasn't changed. The core of the economy is still small businesses. But minorities, and particularly Black businesses, have suffered historically because of institutional racism and the imbalance in assets and how those assets are distributed. So let's go a little further. What's the drag of the invisible economy on the national economy? Let's take a look at this. If Black businesses accounted for 14.2% of all employer firms, of the firms that had at least one or more employees, and the 14.2% is the equivalent to the Black population, it would be 806,218 more Black businesses than there are now. That is over 750,000 more small businesses, just if the amount of small businesses, okay, were equivalent to the 14.2% of the US population. And these would be employer businesses, businesses that hired employees. So if we can make the invisible economy visible and get them the assets that they need, we can totally transform local economies and totally transform the nature of equality in America. And here's the big problem. Sole proprietorships account for 97% of all Black businesses. Look at the number, 97% have no employees. And this is a serious problem. The problem is not that small black businesses are creating the problem. It's the economy that surrounds them that is the problem, and have not focused on these businesses and brought them, to key places in government, quasi-government agencies, banks, um, institutions that can support businesses and grow them. So that's the real problem. Facing. Black employer businesses pay their employees an average of $29,882. So for the 3% of black businesses that are employer businesses, they pay almost $30,000 a year in average income to their employees. However, non-white, non-black businesses, including Hispanic, Asian, and white, have an average pay of $51,357. So if we made these black businesses visible, gave them the support that they need, just like other white, Asian, and Hispanic businesses receive support, if employer businesses paid as much as non-black businesses, because now they had the resources, they had the scale, they had the sales, they had the assets, then these employees would see a pay increase by about $26 billion, $26 billion of more employee income. So, now you can get an idea how critical this is to the national economy. This isn't a black problem or a local problem, it's a national problem. The number of black businesses match the population size, and the employees per firm match non-black businesses. It would then create 19 million more jobs, get people off unemployment, get them out of low-paying jobs, and perhaps get them into jobs that will pay more, allow them to have a better standard of living. All of this contributes to building generational wealth in communities. It's the generational wealth within families, within communities, that are the primary source for starting a business in this country. That hasn't changed since Thomas Jefferson. This is the primary way that businesses are started here. And it's disproportionately aligned against black businesses because their family wealth is only 1/7 of white family wealth. So that's how important the invisible economy is. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where we see civil rights meets the economy. This is what's really critical at this stage. How do we make these businesses visible? The drag continues. The median black household wealth of $9,000 is nearly 1/15 that of non-black households that are estimated at $134,520. So when you look at the median, okay, the middle of all wealth in black households and white households, the black households' wealth is 1/15 that of non-black households. This is according to my analysis of the 2020 survey of income and participation. It's called the SIP analysis. And it's one of the standards for evaluating wealth and family wealth in this country. So you can see the impact that the lack of generational wealth that's typically started with either high-paying jobs and higher levels of education, or it starts with family-based businesses. Let's take a look at both of these as we go forward. Let's take a look at business distribution by income. Where are these invisible black businesses? Nearly a third of all black firms in the United States are in healthcare and social assistance fields, and black women own over half of these businesses. Okay, so in comparison, only 11% of non-black firms are in the healthcare and social assistance field. So it's dominated by black people. It's dominated by women. Okay, and this is where so many of the jobs were questionable as the pandemic took root. So there are many, for example, childcare facilities closed down, senior care closed down, hospice care closed down. So, these were the first people who felt the impact of the pandemic were employees who were black and who were in hospitality and healthcare and social services. There are many other industries that are represented in the black minority and visible community. Don't think it's only in health and social services and hospitality. There's hospice, senior care, and contract nurses, for example, are still in healthcare. There's construction contractors of every stripe, pressure washing, handymen, electricians, and plumbers. These are people that have their own businesses. Okay, so you have beauty consultants, including hairstylists and cosmeticians, personal trainers, substitute teachers and tutors. These are all individual businesses that are home-based, that are part of the invisible economy that you don't see. Covers nearly every field in both products and services. How do you make the invisible economy visible? A home-based business needs to be visible to consumers, and that's a big problem. A lot of home-based businesses don't have a website. They rely on social media. There's something in websites that's called an SSL certificate. The SSL certificate means that if a person transacts, a customer or consumer transacts on that website, it is protected against people hacking into their account when they make a transaction online. In social media, there's no SSL certificates. There's no protection. That's the reason why a lot of people do not want to transact in social media. It's really a problem because they're at risk to having their accounts hacked. So home-based businesses need consumers. That's one issue there on social media. Second issue is people go to find businesses in social media that they already are looking for. What does that mean? Okay, I'm looking for an accountant, or I'm looking for someone that sells cosmetics or candles. I'm going specifically to find that particular business. If you're on radio, for example, you're broadcasting to people that never thought about today I need a candle, or today I need cosmetics, or I need to get an accountant. They may not be thinking about that at all. Excuse me. So when you have broadcast radio, it's going out to thousands and thousands of listeners who haven't thought about your product or service, but now they say, hey, I really do need to get an accountant. Or, hey, my wife's birthday is coming up and she loves candles. Or, I work in an office and I need to have cosmetics. So when you broadcast on radio, you're broadcasting to an audience that may not be looking directly for what you are offering as a product or service, but it's critical to get new customers this way. You need to be visible to banks and financial institutions and investors. Many Black businesses exist in underserved communities, and underserved communities are targeted by banks to close satellite branches. This is a real problem. It's called debanking, and in spite of the protestations of large financial centers and large banks and chain banks, they do close these bank branches because they don't have enough assets coming in. They don't have enough wealth in those banks to justify keeping the branch open. Well, debanking creates a problem because small businesses don't build relationships with banks. It becomes far more difficult. You also get your investors oftentimes through banks, and the banks, have a stock and bond and also investor section. So a commercial bank, which is rare in a lot of inner city communities, a lot of underserved communities, are another key to a small business having access to capital. Public and private contractors, you got to be visible to them. And, for example, they put out what's called RFPs, requests for proposal. You have to know how to write a request for proposal. A lot of municipalities have people that can help you do this if they know that you have a home business or even a web-based business, and you want to respond to a contractor who's asking for products and services that you offer. This can be, you can build an employer-based business this way very quickly in both government and private sector. So, being able to respond to RFPs and being able to write creatively so that you can get contracts is an important part of building any business, and these services are not part of the invisible economy. Local, municipal, state, and federal government resources. Black ties in with what I was just talking about. They can also offer you office space, computers to use, um, expertise, and but you have to be visible. And these businesses, like for example, I mentioned in Prince George's County, I'm estimating there's 5,000 visible businesses. It's not the fault of municipal, state, and federal government. It's just that these are relatively new in the sense that they're social media based and home based, and they grew so rapidly for Black businesses during the pandemic. So now suddenly they're here and they need help. And the faster we can get help to them, the more vibrant financial community is going to be, and the chance of them prospering and moving from sole proprietorships to employer-based businesses is the next phase. Your business needs to be on radio. I mentioned that. And Source Radio, that's where I'm broadcasting from today, we offer 10-minute infomercial to any small Black business for only $25. Now, if you run a 20-second, 30-second ad spot, it's often going to cost you $25 or more. And you have to look at the reach of Source Radio Network. We're part of the award-winning MFM Digital Broadcasting Network out of the UK. We have over 9,000 affiliated stations, both terrestrial, FM and AM, as well as internet stations that can pick up our programming. In the DMV, for example, the Delaware, Maryland, Virginia area, we reach 160,000 listeners with streaming video and audio. So, and if you're national, we reach 3 million listeners and viewers within North America. Globally, we're one of the fastest affiliates of the BBC. We grow at the rate of 38 million listeners per week. So, if you want your business to get in people's ear and to maybe let them think about what you're offering in terms of product or service, a full 10 minutes allows an exploration of how you started your business, what products and services you offer, what kinds of delivery times are available, what makes your products and services unique, and what's your customer history. So all of this becomes available. Now, it's $25, but we often run promotions where if you bring 2 other merchants who have their own showcase for 10 minutes, you get a second free 10-minute infomercial. So, what we're doing is making it so inexpensive for small Black businesses to be on radio for a 10-minute infomercial. We have a show called, and this is part of Shop Black Enterprise, a sister business. The show is called the Shop Black Enterprise Showcase. And the showcase has 2 hostesses and sometimes a host also. And they explore for 10 minutes every aspect of a business and feature the products and services. And you can go to shopblackenterprise.com and purchase from any of the Black businesses that we feature on the showcase on Source Radio Network. And you'll also find many interesting things on Source also. We have something called Source Radio Shop Black Enterprise Spotlight, where we feature one business for 30 to 40 minutes. So you can learn all about Black businesses, learn about their services and products they offer on Source Radio. And if you have a family-based business, there's no better way for less money for you to have major audiences hearing about your business or service than to be on the showcase on Source Radio Network for $25. And the second possibility, for free, if you bring us 2 other small Black businesses who want to be on the showcase. Another way, host your own radio show on Source Radio Network. Like I'm hosting this show. You can host your own show. It's very inexpensive. And each week you can start to build an audience, and that audience will buy your products and services. You may want to team up with another merchant who sells a similar product line in similar industry, and both of you split the airtime. So you can have up to 10 different guests on your show, and you can run the show for half an hour each week, or whenever you feel, once a month, whatever is comfortable for you. But hosting your own show gives you a professional presence in the community. and people learn about your products and services the fastest. Okay, you can also write about home businesses for a local newspaper or a journal. You can create a business press release for distribution either locally or nationally in order to build your business. And this is another issue too. This kind of an opportunity to build your invisible business can bring you to retail space. For example, in Prince George's County, the Economic Development Corporation has a person who's devoted to matching businesses with retail space in shopping malls and throughout Prince George's County. So this is another resource if you're part of the invisible economy. If you become visible, you can have somebody who actually acts as an advocate to match you with the best retail space for traffic and price that you can possibly find. So, again, this is all part of making yourself visible. If you have a home-based business or a business in social media, there are several things you can do to sustain and grow it. You need to attract a large target Black audience. You also need to attract white shoppers. So, Shop Black Enterprise, okay, is a platform. Go to shopblackenterprise.com. It's a sales and business development website exclusively for Black and minority businesses. And you can reach a massive audience through Shop Black Enterprise and becoming part of the cooperative association. It's really very different from Amazon or Shopify. This is a cooperative association. When you join as a merchant, you keep 100% of all your sales. You don't take one dime to Shop Black Enterprise. In addition to Shop Black Enterprise, not taking any of your money, you also make the customer transact on your website. So it's a pass-through. We have registered shoppers who list the kinds of products and services they're interested in, and we, through push technology, push them to your business sites. They transact with you and they become your customer. They're never our customer, they're your customer. We also offer management expertise to help you with your business for free. And we also offer, when you're a member for 1 year of Shop Black Enterprise, Shop Black Enterprise offers you up to a $3,000 zero interest loan. If you run into financial headwinds you didn't anticipate, or you want to build your business by partnering with another business. So part of the revenue of Shop Black Enterprise is shared with Merchant Cooperative Association members. 15% of the monthly dues, and by the way, the monthly dues to be part of Shop Black Enterprise, and again, you keep all your sales money, and this is broadcast nationally and locally to literally thousands of shoppers. It's $9.95 a month. So inexpensive to benefit completely from being on a minority sales network that has broad reach both locally, regionally, nationally, and globally. So Shop Black Enterprise is something you should look into. It's only for Black and minority businesses. Okay? So the other thing you can do is contact your county government. This is really important. County governments have programs that can help you, but they can't help you if they don't know you exist. So you have to make yourself public, and you have to let them know that you exist and that you can meet with representatives at county executive offices or virtually online, and you can find out what programs they have to help sustain and grow your business. So county government and municipalities and city government is critical. They want to develop your business as much as you do. That means jobs and it means health for the economy. So, here I was giving you some suggestions on what you can do to grow your own home-based business, make it visible, make the invisible economy visible. I've given you some analysis why it's invisible and some things you can do to help build a business so that you can develop generational wealth within your family, level the playing field, which has been, a very difficult task. I've given you some tools to look at, and if you want to talk to me about your home-based business at all, I'll be glad to talk to you free of charge. Give me a call. I'm the CEO of the Source Radio Network. and I'm a managing partner of Shop Black Enterprise. So by all means, if you want more information, write to me. You can see our email addresses up here. All right. I would be more than happy to share any information that you need and to help your business grow too. So I want to thank all of you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the information. I hope you can benefit from it. And if you're a shopper, by all means, register for Shop Black Enterprise as a shopper. It's free. We have Shop Black Enterprise has its own cryptocurrency, and you can use that only within Shop Black Enterprise. You can use it at merchants who are part of our cooperative association to get discounts on products and services. So whether if you're a shopper, by all means, register and become a shopper on Shop Black Enterprise. If you're a merchant, register on Shop Black Enterprise too, and get your time on Source Radio Network to grow and sustain your business. So I hope everybody has a wonderful day and a wonderful week, and we'll be hearing from you soon, I hope, and I'll be back with another edition, of small Black and minority business information. Have a great day. Bye-bye.